Kia ora koutou. I'm Rachel. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome here for the first time if you're just joining me. This is a channel about well-being and activism, and it's been a while, so I'm very, very excited to be back. And today I'm going to be, you would have seen in the heading, but I'm going to be talking about accepting compliments and why I think that's important. And I'm going to get kind of cute with it and make these little paper stars too. So yeah, stick around if that sounds interesting to you. I've taken a little bit of a break from YouTube over summer, and I think it's a lot of things. I was dealing with some personal stuff. I think it was, you often hear from other creators that there's kind of ebbs and flows with this stuff, and and it was also too just spring hit, and I became obsessed with flowers. Yeah, another reason, and this is what this video is more about today, that I think I was struggling a bit with this channel, is that I'd started to get a little bit bogged down with the numbers. But I think that lots of people will be able to relate to this, no matter what kind of activism you're doing and stuff, like whether it's the numbers of how many people turned up to your demo or your workshop, or what the membership is of your group or whatever. These numbers are important because they are a representation of how many people we reach and serve, right? And when you're a YouTube creator, there's also this issue that there's this weird kind of, I don't fully understand it, but there's this algorithm. It's kind of like to even have these videos be sort of findable for people who might be looking for stuff like this. The channel has to reach a certain level of popularity to be offered to people, kind of thing, is my understanding of it. And so to sort of for this content to be of use to more people than just my friendship circle through Facebook and stuff like that, and I guess their friendship circle, yeah, it's you do feel quite a lot of pressure as a channel creator to be successful in their way of numbers. And so it's easy to kind of, you make one, so my numbers are all very small, obviously. And then a lot of weeks are like 17 views or something, and it's easy to look at those numbers and feel discouraged and be like, oh, people weren't really interested in this and stuff. Because I mean, again, I want to be of service, and I'm looking at these numbers as a way to try to understand what's of value and how I can make the channel better and more useful. So anyway, thinking about all of that got me thinking about how, even though this experience of having a YouTube channel is a new experience for me, this is not the first time that I've encountered struggle with discouragement or feeling like I'm not doing a good enough job and stuff. And it reminded me of a time quite a long time ago now, would have been it's over 10 years ago, when I was doing my PhD research. And I'd made a big mistake. Oh, and if you're interested in what that project was about, I'll put a link in the card up the top here and below in the description as well. So I got some feedback from one of the members of our collective that I was doing that research with, and it really threw me. I spent a couple of weeks just feeling like a total failure, and in the end, it worked out really well. It produced useful learning, and it became a really interesting part of the thesis, actually. But it threw me for a couple of weeks, and I went to a counselor that the student services provided, and she gave me this piece of advice about needing to collect evidence of good work, so that when something happens where I've done something that I feel like I've done bad work, that I can just keep things in balance a little bit. And what was really interesting about her too is, and that's why I bring this video to you all, because I sort of was thinking I need to think about that again now. And then I thought, actually, this is something that lots of people might want to think about as well, because especially people living in Aotearoa, New Zealand, where I am, because the people who came here didn't want to produce the same or reproduce the same really stratified class culture as they'd left in Britain. They wanted an equalitarian society kind of thing, which is ironic because it was also a colonized society. But anyway, that was the sort of stated purpose, is to be very equal. And so we've inherited a culture in Aotearoa, New Zealand, where where it's it's very important to make it appear as though nobody is better than each other and we're all very equal. And that means that hierarchy is written in code, which makes it harder to see, and it also which has all sorts of issues for collective organizing and stuff. And it also means that it can be difficult for us to celebrate success. The counselor also pointed that out to me and really brought it home to me in a very personal way. And the reason that she could see it as well is because she was Chinese Malaysian. And she said that, you know, she finds that here in Aotearoa, our culture really struggles with celebrating success. And she even finds it with her, you know, with her child, who I think was about 7 or something at the time, at his school and stuff like that. If he did something, if he had an achievement and stuff, she would notice that the teachers would try to downplay things so that it doesn't sort of get to kids' heads and stuff. And she said that in her Chinese culture, they do celebrate success and stuff. And she thinks that it's easier for people who are able to celebrate success to keep more of a balanced view when they're confronted with not doing a great job or whatever. And so she suggested that I go away and start keeping a file in a folder or something of all of the feedback that I get from people that I'm doing a good job. And that was really challenging to me. And going back a little bit, like to me talking at the start of the video about why it's been a bit of a long break, I worked out a couple of months ago that I should make this video, and I think so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna talk about feedback that people have given me about this channel being worthwhile. So I'm not just focused on the numbers. I'm gonna also think about the lovely comments that people have shared with me, and it'll be lovely because it's like coming up to a year. It'll be a great chance to celebrate the beautiful engagement I've had with people, and that's all good. And I knew I needed to do it, and it freaked me out. Like, I just the idea of publicly being like, oh look, this person said a nice thing about me is really uncomfortable to me, and I'll be interested to know how many other people relate to that, because there is also family dynamics and stuff plays into these kind of things. So some people will experience more of this than others, but yeah, it's interesting to think that there is something in our culture that that creates some of that awkwardness as well. Like this counselor said, if you can absorb the criticisms but you can't absorb the positive feedback, how do you keep things in balance, kind of thing. And I also think there's a flip side of this as well. I think if we can get better at actually absorbing, okay, for me anyway, if I can get better at absorbing the positive feedback, then I can have a nice sort of authentic, balanced view of who I am as a person, my strengths and my weaknesses. And when somebody comes to me with criticism, instead of being like, oh my God, is it right? I'm just such a terrible person. Or being like, no, I don't want to hear that. I can just be like, oh yeah, okay, that's useful feedback, thank you. Or I can be like, I don't really think that's true. I'll just let that fall away. But what I'm saying is that it actually, I think being able to celebrate our successes actually also makes us more able to take on useful feedback on how we could be doing things better. So all that preamble aside, or in advance, I'm going to show you something that I found helpful all those years ago when she suggested keeping a record, because I started doing that back then, writing down what people had said. Somebody would say something nice about my writing or something about my personality or whatever that they found useful, and I'd copy and paste that from an email or I'd write it down or whatever. And I found that because this stuff's challenging for me, I found that looking at it, and you might be different, you might find that really helpful, but I found I'd read it the first time and I'd be like, I read it the second time, I'd be able to absorb it a bit better. By the third time, like if I went back to it again, it would start to read, I don't know, my demons would start getting in the way, and it would start to read disingenuous, or I would start to kind of read different things into it, or whatever. It would start to be like, oh, well, this is nice, but it's just a small, I don't know. Something would minimize and stuff. I could minimize it in my brain. So what I did back then, as a way of not engaging my analytical brain so much and just keeping the sweetness. So I'm just emptying out this little jar. I started making these little stars, but it was just a way of, so I'd write on these and then roll them up into these little stars and keep this little jar of them on my desk. And it was just a way of keeping the feeling and kind of the blessing that that person had shared with me that I was doing something okay. But I thought this would be a good time to try that again and just share it with you all. Some of you might find it a fun thing to try, or useful or whatever. So I'm going to read, like, this is the bit where it gets awkward. I'm gonna read some of the comments that people have given me. I'm not going to put it on pretty paper. This is just a printout from copy and paste it onto printer paper and make little white stars. But I'm going to read some of the beautiful comments that people have shared with me and fold them into little stars. Yeah, I just want to, I've been sort of like, blah, blah, blah. I just want to take a moment to kind of settle into that a little bit, because I want to just express my deep gratitude for people who have shared their comments with me, because two things, like all that stuff that I talked about making a YouTube channel and not knowing if it's of value to people, and how validating and important it is to hear people's feedback and know that it is, that it's been useful to some people. Definitely that, but also so much of what I'm sharing on this channel is my personal struggle, and it's often stuff that I feel like is not talked about enough in our movements, and so quite a lot of this can feel really isolating to me, and it feels really vulnerable to say that I experience or I think this or that, and put myself out there in that way. And so it's and there's always a feeling of, is this just me? Am I just struggling with this? It is, so it's really, really helpful to me as well to receive feedback that lets me know that that other people are struggling with those things too. It makes me feel less alone, and and I hope that this channel makes other people feel less alone as well. So I kind of realized that with both the PhD thesis that I did and this this channel, a big part of my approach is to deal with hard things that I think that lots of us are struggling with and could be doing better at and stuff, by making myself vulnerable and sharing my experiences and stuff, in the hope that it's useful to other people. But and also as part of that, exploring and sort of having a self-growth journey for me as well through that. But with both the thesis and the YouTube, like, neither of those are very held ways of digging into difficult emotions. They're both things that are very sort of putting that stuff out there to people, and then just, oh well, people can make of it what they want. It's not a conversation, it's not a support group, it's not it's not therapy. There's not somebody sitting here with me being like, you're okay. And so just wanting to acknowledge that, though, the comments that people share is sort of the main thing, I guess, that holds me in this work. And and again, expressing that deep gratitude for that. And so I'm not going to read all of the comments that I've received. I'm just going to read some and talk about why they're important to me. And I'm also not going to read things that I think will tell anything about people's specific situations, or name names or anything like that, because of course I talk about difficult stuff, and people write to me about some difficult stuff. So what I'm doing is I've put the writing on, I'll just show it quickly. I'll put the writing on what do you call that, landscape ways. I'm just going to cut strips off. I'll put a link on how to make these stars, but I'll try to show you as I do them. So I'm going to cut a strip from the middle of this one, and I'll read out the little comment. This was one that was about the hygge at home during COVID video that I made, from a beautiful, wonderful friend of mine that I haven't seen for quite a long time and lives in a different part of the country than me. So it says, I felt so comforted by watching that. Thanks, Ilhor. By the end, I dimmed the lights, got myself a cozy blanket, and was smiling, remembering all the hygge moments we've shared. Aroha nui rawa. Thank you. This is going to be such a cheesy, embarrassing video. Yeah, thank you for that comment. And I'm going to roll it into this little thing. So what you do is you just start off by tying a knot. I'm just tying a knot in this piece of paper. So it's turning the strip into a knot. And then you sort of tighten the knot up until it forms a flat. I've never done a crafty YouTube video like this before. It's quite fun. Tie it up until it's a flat knot, flat shape like that. And then you just sort of tuck the edges in. So I'm going to fold that bit around. I haven't made these for a long time, so they might come out a bit wonky to begin with. Actually, and I've chopped that on a funny angle so it's not going in. You just tuck the edges in and you keep folding and tucking until it's all in. I might edit some of this awkwardness out. I might leave it. I'll just see how obnoxious I find it when I watch the video back. And yeah, so you just keep folding. You just fold flat so it lines up with the next one over. Keep folding, folding. And I'll just tuck this one in here actually because it's too long. Folding, folding, folding until it's all the way around. And then you can tuck it in on itself like that. Tuck it in there so you've got this flat thing. And then you just kind of squish the flat edges so the corners become the corners of the star. And it doesn't always work perfectly, and it doesn't, especially when you're out of practice. But you just smush it down and it becomes a cute fat little star full of the love and respect of that person. Here's one that says, love this so much. Activism and caring about the world around you is an intensely emotional, complex space, and this beautiful video really hits home how hard but crucial it is to look after your physical and mental health when caring about this mad world. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, that's just a comment from another beautiful, amazing person who knows that stuff to be true from a very deep place of experience, and who also has been a very wonderful, enthusiastic cheerleader and supporter of me since creating this channel. So yeah. This is also just a reminder to me of how lucky I am to know such beautiful people. And that reminds me, hey, I do have more to say while I fold stars. The other thing that I wanted to say, that why I think it's important to accept compliments from our amazing friends, is that I think it can help maybe with like toxic comparison and stuff like that as well. Because I was thinking the other day about how, you know, on some level, like, I love my friends. I know so many amazing, like, just amazing, I'm just saying amazing, but like so many like smart, committed, just knowledgeable and creative and kind and just really cool, like stylish and yeah, just like intimidatingly fucking wicked people, right? And I sort of had to acknowledge to myself that on some level I'm kind of scared of my friends, you know, like and I will do another video sometime about toxic comparison. I'm just making a little star now. And reasons why I want to do some videos about trauma and why we might hold ourselves back from connecting with the people that we love in our friendships and stuff. So that'll be coming up later. But so other issues tie into that as well. Look how cute these are. But yeah, on some level, I'm scared of my friends because they are, like I say, intimidatingly amazing. And that fear, what does that fear mean? That fear means that I might not live up to their expectations of me. It's a fear that I don't know as much as they do. I don't behave as correctly as they do. I'm not as emotionally strong or, intelligent or experienced at supporting people even as they are, and that I might not be able to hold them and their needs and their friendship as well as they would do for me. And that fear of my friends sometimes holds me back from actually connecting with my friends, even though they are so wonderful and I know that they care about me and respect me. It especially stops me from engaging with them as much when I'm feeling vulnerable or tired or need something myself, and that made me. Hang on, I'm gonna hold that thought a minute. I'll read out another compliment and then I'll fold while I talk. I think actually folding while I talk is quite soothing. I'll just read that. This is a really long, really lovely one from, again, somebody who's really awesome and cool and I respect so much, and somebody who's been another really lovely supporter and cheerleader of this channel right from the beginning. And it says, OMG, I needed this video so much today. This was about the video that was about knowing the most or being the most right isn't going to bring about that revolution. And that was one that I felt really strongly about when I made it, but not many people watched, so I was like, oh. But this person obviously was touched by it, so that makes it worthwhile. So yeah, I needed this video so much today. I've been struggling so hard with everything you're talking about, and this is honestly the best timed video ever for me. Thank you so much. And then she goes on to talk a little bit more about some of the specific stuff with her work that she's struggling with. So I won't read that out, but yeah, just so cool. Thank you. So where was I? I was talking about being afraid of my friends, and it made me, so two things. One that I just want to say quickly, which I think is quite a nice, helpful thing with that to think about in general, is that I read this thing recently that was about perfectionism among artists, and I'm not somebody who considers themselves an artist, but my partner is and definitely struggles with that, and but I could relate very much to what this thing was saying, which was that artists pretty much universally struggle with perfectionism. And I mean, I struggle with perfectionism. There's probably a whole video coming up on that at some point. Artists struggle with perfectionism because to be an artist, to want to become an artist and to have a kind of a calling or a pull towards it, I can't remember the word they use, but you need a good eye. Like you probably just have naturally good taste and can see when something is really good quality art. And so you're always like your level of skill is not going to, another little star, your level of skill is not going to match your level of taste. And so you're always going to be frustrated that or maybe for a long time anyway, I don't know if artists ever get over this and feel like I've got it now, I'm the shit. But you're always going to be frustrated with what your hands can make or what you can do compared to what you can see is really good. Another little star. Thank you for that beautiful kindness. It really hit me as profound and useful to think about, and it made me think, there's a comparison there as well with our friends too. I think, what am I trying to say? I think if you've got good taste in people, you can see how amazing people are. and you know, your friends are the kind that that you know, that, like I say, are all those amazing things that you aspire to be and you want to be around and lift you up, and yeah, all those things. That it's easy to feel, you know, having good taste in friends, I think, means it's easy to feel like you can't live up to them. That sounded better in my head, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Anyway, hopefully once I can really let that sink in, and that, you know, I'm attracted to these people because I've got good taste in people, because there's something that resonates with me with those people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then I can get better at taking in the compliments in a way that, balances out any things that I feel like I'm not doing well enough. And I can hold them with me instead of letting them drop or be like that kind of, I'm not good enough, or, oh, you know, they might think that of me, but that's not really me, or like whatever bullshit self-sabotage thing my brain does. I can also actually not only keep a more balanced view of when I experience criticism, but also be able to engage more deeply with the wonderful people I know. And isn't that but this is one about the narcissism videos that I did, and I'll just read some of this. It says, "Thank you so much, Rachel. It sounds like this knowledge has been a hard one for you. Thank you for your generosity in sharing what you've learned. Tautoko. Watching this has really been healing for me and helped me get a bit closer to closure in some tricky experiences I've had. Now I know about the grey rock, perhaps next time I'll see the red flags and be better prepared." And then there's some more comment as well. But and I also wanted to say, I had a few comments about the narcissism one, and I hadn't really been emotionally prepared for what it was going to be like to have people disclose to me narcissistic abuse. And I think that was another of those occasions where, like I was saying before, about not necessarily feeling like I can live up to my amazing friends' abilities or expectations or whatever compared to their skills in those kind of areas. I just want to acknowledge the difficulty of sharing those kind of things with me, and how much I appreciate it, and how much I just I send so much love to everybody who is on a healing journey around abuse of any kind. It's hard work, and the more that we can not only share information with each other, but just share understanding and love with each other, the less power to the narcissist, basically, eh? And again, it's nice to know that I'm not alone in these things, and just, it's very, very easy when you're experiencing narcissistic abuse to feel like it's just you and you're just losing your touch with reality, kind of thing, eh? And so healing for me as well, the amount of interest that people had in those videos, and to know that it rang true with other people as well. Okay, so that's your star. Thank you. And so these are just, like I say, these are not all the comments, but they're just some of the ones that I wanted to read and touch on. And look how cute and beautiful they are, just holding your love there for me. So yeah, I'll find something cute to do with them, and I'll show you in a later video. But thank you if you stuck around for this long. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, and it's nice to be back. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, please like them, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. Hopefully it'll reach more people. Anyway, I'll shut up. So nice to be back and see you all. I hope that your world is going well, and that you're taking care of yourself, or at least trying to find those moments to take care of yourself amongst all the madness. Mwah! Ka kitea no hōra mai.